Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Sideshow exclusive Hot Toys MMS 356 of the black chrome version of the armored Batman from Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. For the package, you got a really cool, glossy kind of chrome look here that I will tell you when you first get it is actually protected by tissue paper. I wanted to say that because I haven't gotten to say that in a long time. But absolutely gorgeous packaging on this that, as you can see, does have a very nice glossy kind of effect. And then you got kind of a chrome sort of a Batman logo there in the background. On the back of the package, you got various warnings and contact information for Hot Toys. Then when you open the shoebox style package, on the inside you have an insert with the cast and crew responsible for making this figure. And then when you remove that insert, you have the clamshell that fully showcases the figure as well as his accessories. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have the black chrome version of the armored Batman opened up and out of its packaging. Now, this is actually the second version of the armored Batman that we've gotten. The first one I ultimately didn't get. I like the way this one looks a little bit more. What the chrome essentially does is give it a wet, kind of glossy and darker sort of look to the actual suit, much more representative of how it looked in this specific scene in Batman vs. Superman when Bruce Wayne first debuted this. If you remember, it was raining during that time. The first suit just has a dry kind of look to it. This, I think, looks much, much better. Alright guys, so starting off first with his accessories, in addition to the two relaxed hands that are currently on him, he also comes with a pair of fisted hands, which actually you can see are absolutely massive. And then you can see you got a nice glossy kind of paint mixed in with some more matte black paint. And then on the back of the handguard, you have some nice kind of scratching and wear marks and things like that. Just overall really great looking detail and design of these actual gloves. He also does come with a right hand, which is designed more to kind of act like a trigger kind of pulling hand, I guess. Works very nicely with a grenade launcher there. But again, you can see the nice, molded plastic with the glossy paint thrown on there. Got the really nice handguard on the back. He also comes with a right hand here that is designed to hold his little grapple launcher with that same great amount of detail on there. And then he also comes with, I don't actually know what you use this hand for. You can see a lot of real great detail on the palm, but it's just a reaching kind of hand. I don't know exactly what you would use this with. It doesn't kind of fit with any of the kind of accessories. I mean, you can't really hold it. Now, I thought maybe it would be like a stabilizing hand for the grenade launcher, except the trigger hand is a right hand. So you can't really use two right hands to, pull the trigger and support the gun. So it's almost like this should be a left hand. I don't know exactly what you use this for. He also does come with a pair of the larger size wrist pegs, obviously in case you break them. And these pieces here we have seen before. This is the zipline launcher. Real great look on this, but as you can see, it has a much more reflective paint on there, more in line with how the actual suit kind of looks. Just overall giving it a kind of wet-ish sort of look to it. Now, he also does come with the grenade launcher that, bringing in the original one that I have, you can see it does actually have some extra paint down here. I don't know exactly why, but you can see that the original is just this matte kind of black paint, whereas the new one here has that little bit of a gloss to it, which just, like I said, gives it a little bit more of that wet kind of look. It's not that, the original is bad or anything, but for the scene, it just seems to work a little bit better to have a little bit more of a slick kind of look to it. And then same thing with the actual grenades. You can see this is the original grenade, if it'll focus. Whereas the one on the left here has a little bit more of a glossy paint on there. As you can see, this is a closed grenade, and then he also does come with one that is actually opened up as well. Now, he does have swappable faceplates. He has a neutral one that's currently on him. He also has one with his teeth exposed. I'll show how to attach that. It essentially gives him, an alternate portrait, which is kind of cool. It's very similar to all the other Batman figures that we've gotten so far. But now we come to this, and this is actually much different than what we got with any of the other Batman vs. Superman figures. As you remember, those display stands were much smaller, and then it had the logo here, which actually kind of shifted up. This is more kind of like that little Superman kind of one, but it's got the little piece of cardboard on there. It's actually pretty nice. I mean, you can see it's got a nice reflect paint on there, and then it is embossed, but that does actually look really cool. But it just comes with this metal pillar and then the little crotch cradle. The thing that kind of sucks is because of how far back this is. Like, Batman is like right here on it. He's not even centered. I'll show this off, and I'll show exactly why I think that this is a bad stand to include for him. But for his accessories, that's everything that you get. Now, coming in to take a closer look at the figure, I remember when it was first shown, a lot of people were kind of up in their arms thinking that it's going to be like Batman with Iron Man thrown in. And it was quickly revealed that this suit is not designed to really power him up. It's actually designed more as a survival kind of suit. And one thing that I absolutely love, and you get a real appreciation for it when you actually take a look, is that all this armor stuff seems to kind of go over just the regular bat suit itself. Now, looking at the head sculpt itself, you can see you got a really nice amount of detail on it. You can see a lot of scratches and things like that. Again, this is what they're calling black chrome. I don't know necessarily if it is black chrome or if it's just like a glossy paint. I don't know. Some people are concerned about the durability of chrome. I don't necessarily think that there's going to be a problem really with this. When you look at just the mouth section, I do still see a really good resemblance to Ben Affleck. So I do think that the kind of likeness is there. Now, the eyes do actually light up, and I'm going to take this off because it also kind of shows how to actually remove the mouth plate. All you really do is you just kind of push from this section. It has a bit of a magnet in there, so you just pull it and then slide it out, and then you take this angry one and then you just slide that up into place like so, and that, again, really cool look for it. I honestly haven't decided which I'm going to use. I mean, you can see that, you know, you got a little bit more of a parted lip kind of look. This one has a lot more exposed teeth. Unfortunately, you can't use the mouth plates from the previously released Batman because, as you can see, you got the additional black section here around the side. But for the light up eyes, you come around here to the underside, the battery compartment's right under there, and then you got the switch that when you put it, there you go. And actually, the light up eyes are really quite impressive. It's almost brighter than some Iron Man helmets that we get. And then coming down here to the bottom, turning it off, again, you can see just, well, if I can get my fingernail in there, you can just see how bright that actually gets. And then putting that right back on there, kind of what you want to do is move this forward so that you don't get the back of the helmet rubbing on the back. So move that little neck peg and push it in there very securely, and then kind of manipulate it underneath. Oh, and somehow, some way, I actually turned the eyes back on. I didn't want to do that. There you go. So pop that back in there. But again, looking at the suit itself, you got that nice glossy kind of look on there. Like I was talking about on the underside here, you can definitely see what does look like just his bat suit kind of. So when you look at these little pieces here, like the shoulder and everything and how it's attached to the torso bit, you can see it's almost as if all these armor pieces just kind of slide over the existing bat suit. But the overall bulk is really there. I mean, great detail in the hands. I mean, you got some nice scratches and everything throughout the entire thing. I love the cape on him. One thing that I will actually say, and again, do be very careful. Always go through the instructions. He's actually supposed to have this wrapped around his torso bit. If you remember, that's how it actually was in the movie. The problem, though, is this right here is the only, well, you can't actually remove it, but this little piece right here is actually held on by a very thin wire. And while I was moving this around to kind of futz with it to get it positioned properly, this actually broke. So this is not supposed to be removable, but because that piece broke off, I was able to actually take it off, and I honestly think it looks a little bit better with it off. There really doesn't seem to be much of a purpose to this. It doesn't hold his weapons or anything like that, and it kind of made it a little bit cumbersome because you would put it through this little hole on his actual cape. And it just, I don't know, I didn't think it looked all that good, and it looks like there's a bit of a snag almost right there. I'll have to try to futz with that a little bit to kind of get that looking a little bit better. But so unfortunately that snapped on mine, but I think it actually makes the bat suit look better. I don't particularly like that kind of look, but as you can see, you got that little section that comes through on the actual cape. The cape is actually really very nice. You can see that it doesn't come down nearly as far as the original bat suit did. So I mean, that's actually really cool. It doesn't drag. It is dual layered. It's kind of like I mean, you got a front and a back, and it's makes it very heavy. I really like the way that it drapes, and then you can see you got some nice tattered rips and everything down through the bottom. Overall, real great quality on the cape itself. Then you can see it actually comes around and it kind of attaches right here on his actual shoulders. I mean, look at all those little lines and everything on the actual suit. I mean, you can see some real great tailoring throughout the entire thing. And then again, great scratches and everything on the whole kind of suit just by itself, or the armor, I should say, coming down here. Again, great detail on the thighs. And one thing that I'll say is that these armor pieces don't really appear to actually be permanently attached to this. They do kind of move around, but it is really stiff. And then you come down to the lower part of the legs, you got the little blades kind of coming out here. You also had those on the gauntlets themselves. If you come around to the back even, you can see some great kind of structural detail coming down here through the spine area. And just absolutely impressive looking piece on this. I really love the overall presence that this has. And here he is just in his regular suit, and you can see that he actually does get a little bit taller, obviously, because the boots are very bulky, and then much more massive. And you compare next to Superman here, you can see that he's actually a little bit bigger of a figure. But like I was talking about with the stand, because of how far this is, you have to, like, obviously put that over there, and you put him here towards the very, very back of it, and I really don't like that. As you can see, you can't get his feet to get the cape out of the way. It's like the backer hanging off here. I would much prefer it if it was obviously a little bit further. Putting it all the way back there, I don't think that works well. Obviously, you have the logo here that's still nicely displayed, but I just don't think that this stand works with this figure. And for his articulation, because of the suit itself, it does fairly hinder some of the poses you might want to put him in. For the head itself, it is on a ball joint. The neck section here is all one solid piece, so you don't really get any motion there. But if you take the helmet and kind of shift it forward a little bit, you can actually get him looking up fairly high, which is pretty cool, and you can get a, you know, I'm looking at you, Superman kind of look. So you do have a decent range of motion there. Kind of pivots, obviously looks left and right, can look down about that far. This little section here, these actually attach, but it does tell you to remove them, which can get you to extend the arms out a little bit further. The easiest way to do it is kind of, you know, pull from this section here, but you're only going to get, and you can kind of feel like two joints kind of lifting it, so you get about that range of motion. Moving forward though can be a little bit tricky actually to do. The easiest way to actually kind of do it is lifting it and then rotating them at the actual shoulder around, and then you can bring the arm in. Now it is still really stiff, and there's kind of like a fat suit underneath it. Not really a fat suit, it's just a padding that kind of bulks him up some. So like you lift the arm here and then it kind of will fall down like so. This one's not so bad. So again, rotating that around and then just spin the suit, because that can kind of block things. You get it up about that far. So it does take some finesse, but you can kind of get him in some fairly solid poses. It does appear that there's a bit of a armpit joint. I would imagine that the standard Hot Toy body is underneath all this, but obviously there are the restrictions. He does bend here at about 90 degrees. Oh no, I'm pulling his hands off. Don't do that, Paul. That's bad for the Batman. You can move his arms about 90 degrees or so. It doesn't, again, I can't really tell if there's a double joint here at the elbow because of all this junk in here. So it's a little bit tough to kind of see. The waist, you get a little bit of pivot side to side, but it doesn't really hold the pose or anything like that. All this armor kind of blocks all that. The wrists do rotate. They are a little bit tricky, as you can see. They will pop off if you don't have them in there very securely, and it's a bit tricky to kind of get them lined up and get those hands in there. It's all because of the actual forearm guards that kind of make it a little bit tricky. The legs here move forward and back a little, about that far, not really a lot with it. Moves out about that far, I would say. Let me see. Yeah, that's about as far as you really are going to be able to get it. This section right here does kind of push in here, so you do want to be careful. Obviously, that could potentially damage the suit. It does rotate a little here at the part of the thigh. Again, the actual armor feels like it's very tight to the body, but I don't think it's actually permanently attached to it because it does shift a little. So you do have that rotation there. He bends about that far here at the knee itself. It does feel like there's two joints there at the knee, so you get a decent range of motion there, and then the ankles are on ball joints, so you can get a nice forward and back and then side to side. And then look at the great detail on the bottom of the foot. I mean, that's really cool. So definitely a little bit limited in terms of the overall poses that you can put him in, but like I said, getting him standing there in a static, maybe holding his grenade launcher kind of pose, I think he's going to look absolutely terrific. But a pose like this, I think, really does look pretty cool. So while he's limited in terms of his articulation, I still think you can pull off some pretty cool looks for him. Now, I remember when this suit was first revealed, a lot of people just kind of likened it to an Iron Man suit. And very quickly after that started, it was announced that no, this suit does not enhance the power of Batman. It's basically just a survival suit. And for me, I actually really like that idea. The overall look and design of the suit is awesome, and I think that Hot Toys has done a great job of capturing it. My personal preference is this version of the armored Batman, but that's not to say that the original one is bad. The way that the black chrome is utilized here, as I talked about, just gives it that kind of slick, wet look, whereas the original one just has more of a very dark gray kind of presence. When that dark gray gets wet, it does become a much darker color, which I also think has been captured very nicely here. Honestly, if I were to pick between the armored Batman and the regular, I probably would actually pick the armored Batman. If I could only choose one, this would be it. So all that being said, if this is a figure that you'd like to add to your collection, it is available right now at Sideshow Collectibles. So all you have to do is click on the link down in the video description. You go to Sideshow where you can check out availability on this guy, as well as the rest of the Hot Toys 1/6 scale figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been optibotimus. Don't forget that if you like this video, to please like and share it. It goes a long way towards helping me out. Also, be sure to subscribe in case you haven't already subscribed. That way you get instant email notifications whenever I upload a new video, and you never miss a future review of mine. And as always, until next time, be excellent to each other.